Well, isn't George Clooney showing his true colours after writing an opinion piece in the New York Times demanding that his, quote, friend, Joe Biden, drop out of the race because he's too old and can't really string two sentences together? Now George Clooney is praising Joe Biden all in front of the cameras as he tries to rewrite history by claiming that Joe Biden took it upon himself to drop out of the race because he's a selfless guy.
The person who should be applauded is the president who did the most selfless thing that anybody's done since George Washington. And that's true. And so anybody, all the machinations that got us there, that's all, none of that's going to be remembered. And it shouldn't be. What should be remembered is the selfless act of someone who, it's very hard to let go of power. We know that. We've seen it, all around the world. And for someone to say, I think there's a better way forward, that's all the credit goes to him. And
all the credit goes to him? Are you serious? Let's go back and look at what George Clooney wrote in the New York Times, which was picked up and run in news bulletins all over the world 11 days before Joe Biden dropped out. Let's just start with the headline. I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Wow. And remember, this piece was perfectly planned with other Democrats to strategically make a series of public comments about Joe Biden's mental decline as they ramped up the campaign to get him out, which is why we heard these comments from Nancy Pelosi on the same weekend.
And people want him to make that decision, not me.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And that's the way it is.
Crazy timing, isn't it? But back to George Clooney, because in his opinion piece, he had to make sure that he was really digging the knife in after raising $30 million for Joe Biden's campaign just a few weeks earlier. He wrote that Joe Biden was not the Joe Big Effing Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Fast forward to today, how is George Clooney feeling about the way everything panned out? Well, in his words, he's proud.
And that's really the truth, and all the rest of it will be long gone and forgotten. And so I'm just very proud of where we are in the state of the world right now.
Well, why wouldn't he be? George Clooney and the Democrats got their way. Now they can rally around Kamala Harris, and her staff can hide her from hard-hitting interviews. And Joe Biden, who is somehow still the president of the United States, gets to take as much time off as he likes, because why would he want to spend this precious time in the White House when there are beaches to visit? Last month, I caught up with comedian Alex Stein to get his thoughts on George Clooney's New York Times piece, who labelled the Hollywood actor a fraud.
George Clooney raised about, I think it was like $16 million or $40 million for him. And if he was incoherent and not able to put a sentence together while he was fundraising all that money, it just shows you how big of a fraud George Clooney is. And the reason why Nancy Pelosi and them are even walking this back or trying to show support is that they don't look bad for the last 4 years, knowing that Joe Biden has been basically a walking potato this entire time. And he won the 2020 election by campaigning from his basement. So I'm sure he's started to rapidly decline, but he's been steadily declining easily since 2020, in my opinion.
It's interesting. George Clooney also wrote, this isn't only my opinion. This is the opinion of every senator and Congress member and governor that I've spoken with in private. Why are all these conversations happening in private and we have to get leaks? At least finally George Clooney has come out and written his opinion and spoken honestly with the American people.
Well, I'm actually kind of envious of the Democrats because they stay in lockstep even when they have a reanimated corpse as their leader. They all will fall in line and actually do it behind closed doors. But if you're actually paying attention to the political world, the Obamas do not particularly love the Bidens, and the Clintons don't particularly love Joe Biden. And Joe Biden did a ton of illegal business dealings through his son, Hunter Biden, with the Ukraine and with China, so that they know that he's just as crooked as them. So they're not going to be sad to see him go, but they're going to put out this public, persona as if they support Joe Biden, when in reality, nobody on the left supports or trusts Joe Biden to be the leader of the free world.